So I just finished putting together the gingerbread house from our Gingerbread Junction bundle, and I think it came out great. This is going to be a great little centerpiece for my table or a mantle or pretty much anywhere. It's got room in the back for 2 of those electronic tea lights, probably more if you want. But anyway, so once you're done with this, we've got a little treat box that features some cute little gingerbread men and women. And it's a great way to give a host or hostess a little host gift for your holiday meal, or just a little gift for the holidays. But anyway, it's a very simple project, and I'm going to move this out of the way, and we can just get started on our little box here. This one's going to go together pretty quick. So I've already kind of laid out my little gingerbread here, men and women, and you'll see here that we've got 3 layers for each one, and we're simply going to just glue them all together. Just there's 2 of each, and I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll put a couple of them together, but the pink layer is at the bottom, and we kind of did that so that they were nice and sturdy, because we were going to end up pop dotting them or using foam squares, whichever you prefer. I like the foam squares for this application. And also, because we just wanted to make it easier to assemble, instead of having to deal with little pink cheeks, they are going to show through just naturally because of the way that everything's layered. Okay, so you're going to take the white layer, glue it to the pink layer, and then we're going to take the brown layer and glue that on top of the 2 layers that are already together. And that is how we build our gingerbread people. So go easy on the glue. You don't want it shooting out all over the place. And just get that nice and sandwiched right on there. Just match it up with the existing facial features there. Make sure you're not hiding the little pink cutouts there. And there is our first ginger person. So we can put that off to the side, let that set, and then I'll do one of these, since the other 2 are identical. Okay. Very simple piece. I probably don't even need to explain this, but I want to show it, just so there's no confusion. And it's a good sized box. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I found some German gingerbread, so I'll probably get some tissue, or maybe even some crinkle fill or whatever, kind of line the box with that, and then add my cookies. Okay, so we've got the white layer glued to the peach or pink layer for the cheeks, and then again, just work that glue out to the extremities, the little feet, the cute little butt, and some in the middle there, just like that. Don't need to put too much glue on it. And as we press down, it's going to kind of push outward anyway, depending on which way you press. Okay, so there we go. So there's our other little ginger person. And you're going to repeat the same process with these 2. They're identical. One's a boy, one's a girl. And then we can move on to the actual construction of the box, which should not take long at all. So again, this is going to be, it's going to be a very, very quick little project, but definitely something that will be adored and appreciated by your recipient. If you can part with it. I have a problem with that. And actually, I mentioned this story, speaking of parting with things, I mentioned this story in our group on Facebook, but that last bundle that featured the acorn, the Hello Fall bundle, I was working on that in the studio just the day before my Halloween party, and I ended up, and I have no recollection of this, I think it's just because being a host, you're kind of trying to make sure everyone's happy. But anyway, my girlfriend's sister, I kind of show her some of the stuff that we make because she's a fan. And I said, well, you can have one of these pieces when I'm done. And she liked the acorn, which most of you did too, so props to her for picking out the winner. But anyway, I gave it to her before I filmed and photographed it. And typically, you know, I'd get stuff done. I just ran out of time, and it totally slipped my mind that I didn't photograph it. So when she came to the Halloween party, as she was about to leave, I said, "Oh, you got to grab your acorn." Ran into the studio, gave it to her. It was raining, and she took it home. And then the following Monday, when I came into the studio to take the photos and shoot the trailer, I couldn't find the acorn. I was like, what happened? I ran inside the house freaking out, and I asked my girlfriend, I said, did she steal the acorn? I thought someone stole the acorn. And she's like, I texted her right away. I said, do you have the acorn by chance? She's like, yeah, you gave it to me. And I had to look at the cameras that I have around my house just to make sure that she wasn't lying. I was like, I don't remember doing that. She stole it. I was so convinced that she stole it. But cameras don't lie. It turns out it was only a 2.5 minute interaction. I was in and out of the studio in 2.5 minutes, and I ended up giving it to her. So I had to remake it. Anyway, all right, so our gingerbread people are done. Okay, so here they are. We can put those off to the side. We can take a look at this real quick. We do have 4 of these little holly leaves, and what I did was I just kind of took and pinched them right at the tip to give them some dimension so they're not just flat, and you can see the difference there. You can see how nice and lifelike that looks. So you want to just get those prepped just like I did, and then we're going to add some little red rhinestones. There's a little section here at the bottom for 3 little rhinestones. You can just add those so that they kind of mimic the little berries that you would have on a little leaf like this, as you can see. And we'll get those on the box once all said and done. And we do have this little star here, and we're going to get that glued on. You can see where the star goes. The little spokes here, there's 4 that are longer. That is kind of like the little shadow piece for this. So we can just get this ready. Just throw some glue on these little spokes here, and we'll get this glued in place. And if you got way too much on there like I just did, just go ahead and dab it with your finger. This is a non-porous piece of foil, so I've got plenty of time to take some of that off. And we're just going to place that right onto the larger spokes on the red piece, and that's going to go in the center of our box once we have it assembled. Just try to make sure that you get it as lined up as you possibly can. And that's pretty good. Just flatten that out. There we go. All right, so we can put that off to the side. And now we can put together our box. Okay, so this is my top. You're gonna have a piece like this. It's scalloped. I went ahead and inked that. And there's obviously a lid and there's a base. Okay, now you can tell the difference between the base and the lid because the lid is a little bit, well, it's not as tall. This one's taller, this one's shorter. Just keep all the light colors together and we should have no problem. Anyway, so the lid itself is comprised of these pieces here. So we want to go ahead and get all these folded. Fold everything at the score marks. We're going to join all 4 of these together. And then after we do that, we're going to put our little panels on here just to kind of jazz it up a little bit. And then we can close it all up. It's a very, very simple little project. Okay, so it just doesn't matter where we start. Just grab 2 pieces. They're all the same. And we're going to start by putting glue on the large tab here. And go easy on the glue here. Too much will cause it to warp. And I'm going to paint that glue out to the very edge. And you can lay this down flat on your table. Grab the other piece and just line it up as accurately as you can and press that down. Okay, you can kind of fold it over onto itself, and you can see that these tabs here should kind of match up and sit on top of each other so that they're almost, perfectly on top of each other. That way you know that you've got it lined up correctly. All right, so we can scoot this down a bit and get our glue on the next tab and work that glue out to the edge. Again, you guys don't have to do it the way I do it. You can just glue it, but I find that everything just looks a lot more polished when I do it this way. When I get that glue out to the edge, the very edge of this piece sits nice and flat and flush, and it almost just looks seamless and continuous. And just like I said, just a little more professional. So, and I gotta aim for excellence, which everyone should do. Okay, so we're putting glue on the next piece here, next tab, and just spread that out. Okay, line that up as accurately as you can. And wham, there we go. Fold that over onto itself, check your work, give that an extra press maybe, just to make sure that it's sitting nice. Okay, now remember where these tabs are here, this is gonna be the top. Okay, now these little panels, you notice that they're flat on 3 sides and they have scallops on the bottom. You want the scallops pointing down. Okay, so they're gonna go like this. You don't want them like that. You want them pointing down like this. And as you can see here, you're gonna have a nice even border in each of these little sections. So you know what, let's just get this glued into place while we can, while it's flat. It's just a lot easier to work with things when they're flat, and you're less likely to mess it up. So just throw some glue on the back there, excuse me, and get that nice and centered. And lay your first one down, and wherever it is, you wanna kind of make sure that the next one is on that same plane. Okay, so just kind of take a look at that edge and then line that edge up there as well, just to make sure that it's consistent. Okay. And again, just make sure that you've got it as centered as you possibly can. And voila. Okay, so we're just going to repeat this process until we have all the panels on here, like so. So anyway, this is a fun little project, and the cool thing is that, you know, I try not to hold on to too many pieces just because I don't like to collect things too much, because then you got to worry about putting them away, and I do like to keep some things to display in the back there, but anyway, I'm going to figure out who's going to get this one. I typically give them to the ladies in my life. My mom, my girlfriend's mom, girlfriend's sister. My girlfriend is kind of, she's not really crafty. She's more sporty, but that kind of balances us out a little bit, because I'm sporty too, but I'm kind of like being the homemaker. I like decorating and stuff, obviously. But yeah, yesterday when I was working on the gingerbread house, when I was getting prepped for it, I started listening to Christmas music, and it really got me in the spirit, even though it's only November. But we got a ton of snow out there right now. Well, not a ton, but enough to where it looks like full-fledged winter, and it was nice. I love this time of the year. It's fun. Okay, so we're almost done here. Just going down the line and getting these panels in place. Just make sure that you get that glue out to the very edges, and then try to work a little bit into the little scalloped regions as well, so they don't go peeling back. And if you do have any areas where it's kind of not sitting flat, you can always use the little painting trick where you grab a scrap piece of paper and just kind of shove it in there in between the 2 layers and get it to stick. Okay, there we go. Last one. And there we go. Okay, so that's looking pretty festive. All right, so now we can go ahead and close this up. Okay, so let's get our glue on this final tab here. And paint that out to the edge. And you should be able to technically do this flat because everything should just match up nicely. There we go, look at that. That's a testimonial to the beautiful engineering that the Dreaming Tree team does. Kudos to Diana for doing the engineering, and of course, Ron for his beautiful designs. Okay, so there is our lid, and here is, now you know what we can do actually. Let's put this on here before we glue this on top, just so that we can work on it while it's flat. Okay, so this decorative piece, this pattern piece is gonna go on top of the actual lid. That's gonna kind of strengthen it as well. We've got a lot of surface area here to work with, so try to work quick. Try to get some glue out to those scalloped edges too, so that nothing comes peeling up. I got a feeling that we may need to kind of do some follow-up cleanup with this piece. Maybe not, we'll see. Okay, and just make sure that you match it up. You can see that it's the same shape, except that, you know, you've obviously got some scallops on this piece. Just get it nice and centered if you can. I think I did a pretty good job there. Yeah, so much surface area on this that once you put it down, it's going to be hard to wiggle it and move it. But that looks pretty solid as far as placement goes. And just make sure you keep putting that pressure around the perimeter so that it sits nice and flat. Okay, there we go. That's nice. Okay, so I think the best thing to do here, and I guarantee you we're going to need to do some cleanup on this, but we'll do our best. I'm going to anchor this first, which means that we're going to put glue on just one of the tabs so that we have it set at least at one point, and that's going to make the rest of the process easy. Now, with something with this many sides, you see how it kind of wobbles around a lot. That does kind of make it a little challenging, but we can do it. So anyway, pick a side and get that lined up as accurately as you can up to that little edge there, and press that down. And once it's making contact, lift it up a bit, and then you can put that down on your surface and press down from the inside. We're going to check our work and make sure that, that we got it lined up nicely. Check your edge, and that looks solid. That looks really good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to get the rest of this glued, and you can see how it's kind of funky. We're going to have to kind of nudge the walls a little bit in or out depending on where we're at. So get your glue on. Well, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the thick line first because I'm going to paint this out to the very edge. Thicker lines don't set as fast. So we're going to do a nice thick line right up to the edge on all the pieces here. We're going to try to close this up in one shot here. And if it doesn't work, we can always go back in and fix it. But I'm feeling like a superhero today. Okay, there we go. And then a little bit on the actual tabs. And then we're going to go around and paint that glue out to the edges and see what we come up with here. There we go. You see how that glue is not totally dry because it's a thick layer. And it helps to kind of push that glue back a little bit so that as you're painting it, you don't get it over onto the face where the panels are that we just added. So I'm kind of pushing it down as I paint. And then it kind of prevents it from going over onto the surface. Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna have to go in and clean this up with my little technique, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. I expected that because this is a weird shape. So what I would do is focus on getting it lined up with the side opposite of the side that it's hinged on. Okay, so line that part up first, and then the rest of it will start to somewhat fall into place. Get that lined up, and then hold that in place and kind of nudge the walls in or out, depending on where they are. Here I'm going to need to nudge that out. So I need to pull that out a little bit. I need to pull this one out a little bit. And then here I need to pull this out a little bit. And pull that out a little bit. And I'll just hold that, take a look at it real quick. As long as it's got somewhat of a grip, we're going to be in good shape, because we can always go in and paint everything with some additional glue to get it to really stick and hold. Okay, let's take a look at our work here. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good, actually. It's not completely sitting flat, but I expected that. So let me grab a scrap piece of paper. When I first started doing this, I would have put a ton of glue on there and it all would have squirted out. But I kind of like to take my time and make sure everything is polished. And from that, I've learned some techniques and some processes that make everything look really nice. So anyway, scrap piece of paper, take a look and see where the lid isn't completely sitting flat. Just throw a little extra glue in those little areas by just rubbing it up there. And then you can flip it over and press down from the inside. You can actually push down on the wall too, so that the actual seam where the sides meet the top make really good contact by pushing that down. Okay, and then we can take a look and you can see how nice and flat that looks. Okay, so just kind of work your way around the box and add glue anywhere where it's blatantly not sitting flat, obviously. And then just go ahead and you can just hold it from up on top too. It shouldn't matter. Just put a little bit of pressure on this thin part of the wall and just kind of squeeze it together and hold it and allow it to set. And then you'll have a nice polished looking box. I can see that there's a few more areas here where I need to do that too, and that's not a problem at all. Again, this is when you get into boxes with this many sides, you can almost expect this sort of thing to happen, and I'm used to it. If you can get it all in one fell swoop, kudos to you. But you don't really need to have to. You don't really need to have to. You don't really have to. If you don't get it all in one shot, you know, depending on the circumstance, especially here with this lid on this box, you can always go back in and fix things. So don't be hard on yourself. And we're not actually fixing it, we're just finishing the job. We didn't mess anything up. So I don't ever look at it that way. I just kind of look at it like it's part of the process. And especially with this process, it's part of a process where we're, you know, pursuing excellence. Not perfection, just excellence. We're taking our time and we're mastering our craft. Isn't that what it's all about? Just kind of learning as you go. And, you know, each project you do a better job on ultimately. It's just second nature. You zone out, you meditate while you're doing it, and you have a great time. And you make beautiful things. And make a lot of people happy. And I think that's what it's all about. So don't be hard on yourself when you're starting, especially when you're first starting out. And you're just kind of getting used to using your tools and learning how all this stuff works. It's part of the fun. It's part of the journey of getting there. You know, I'd love to be an NFL quarterback, but and I probably could if I put the time in, like we are here, learning how to assemble these beautiful projects. Actually, I don't think I could be a quarterback. Well, but you never know. All right, so anyway, this is getting kind of redundant here. Again, I'm just going around and checking my work, making sure everything looks nice and flat and flush. Just want to make sure that everything is polished and pretty. And we can actually, after I get this done here, we can have some fun and put our little gingerbread people on here just to kind of change it up a bit. And yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's start with our little star here in the center. That's going to go on flat. I mean, I guess you could technically, if you wanted to, you could pop dot that if you want. I got to figure out, I'm trying to figure out where it goes. There it goes. Okay, so you'll notice that there are some little score line indicators here. Just look for the ones that match up with the long spokes on this piece and just get that lined up with that. And that'll help you get it centered and kind of looking symmetrical. Okay. There we go. Again, after you do that, you may need to re-find where those are at. There's mine right there, and right there, and right there, and right there. There we go. And that's going to be nice and centered. We're going to put a nice little, well, actually, you know what? I think I'm missing a piece. Okay. There is a little tiny circle that goes in the middle of this little star. So just throw a little bit of glue onto this piece here and just get that nice and centered in the middle of our little star. Almost looks like a compass, or like the little symbol inside of the compass, north, south, east, and west. Okay, so just hold that down, make sure that that is sitting flush, and it's not exactly centered. Sometimes it helps to look at it from a different viewpoint and make sure you got it nice and centered. And I'm gluing this to foil, so it's going to take a few extra moments. But anyway, so now what we can go ahead and do is get our little gingerbread men on our lid. And there are, like I mentioned, some additional, let's see, some additional little markers here to help you with the placement of our gingerbread men. Okay, so what you'll notice is that right near the star in the center, here there's two little score marks next to each other. Here there's only one. Here there's two. Here there's one. The one with the two is for, I would call the female version of our little guys there, and the one that has just the one, it kind of looks like a little tiny little mountain. That's for our cool little snowman, or I said snowman? Did I say snowman? I meant gingerbread man. The one that has the cool little haircut at the top there. Okay, and then again, so we're alternating here. We're going boy, girl, boy, girl. And I guess one other thing that you can look at too is the middle there, right where their little butts are. It's going to line up with one of the corners of the box as well. So you want to use that as kind of a guide as well. Okay, and additionally, once you have the little head portion in place and the butt kind of right up on the corner here, you'll notice that there are some additional little score marks there that kind of are a little bit round, that kind of fit right into the little area here, just to the left and to the right of the little butt area. Okay, so that's another way to make sure that you've got it lined up. I mean, as long as it's close, it'll be fine. So anyway, we're gonna flip this over, and again, I'm gonna add some dimension to this project by using some foam squares instead of just gluing it flat. I think that'll look really nice. And I think because these are 3 layers, I think 3 of these will be plenty. And just gonna peel these off. Let me get that out of here. And then we'll pop them in place. Okay. Whoops. All right, so again, a little corner there is where his little butt's gonna go. And pardon my head for a second here. I'll make sure I get that right. And when you're pop dotting them, it's kind of hard to line it up with the little marks there, but there you go. You can see how nice that looks. Okay, so I'm going to continue around with the rest of our little gingerbread men and women here. And we'll get those all in place, and then put the holly leaves in there as well, just to finish off our lid, and then we can just make the actual container or the base, which is the exact same process as the lid, except that it's a little bit taller, obviously, and we'll be done. Now remember, when you're putting these on here, you want to alternate girl, boy, girl, boy. Make sure that you've got it nice and centered, nice and aligned, and voila. Another thing you can do too is find the center of their heads and make sure they're kind of lined up with the that little star there in the center. Okay, so just moving right along here. It's a cute little box, actually. It's very, it's got a hint of the old country, like a European sort of feel, which I guess is, gingerbread is kind of a European thing anyway, but actually what isn't European in this country, I guess? Well, there's a lot, but you know what I mean. Okay, so get that one in place as well. There we go. And the last one. So how are things going with yours? Is it coming along okay? Hope so. If not, take a break, take a breath, come back, just watch the video, follow along with me, and you'll be fine. Don't be hard on yourself if this is your first time. You can do it. All right, and the last one here. That looks about right there. There we go. Okay, how cute is that? I love the dimension too. Okay, let's get our little holly leaves glued into place. And you'll notice that, well, I guess you won't notice until I tell you. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put glue on the little area where the berries are gonna go, on the back. The rest of it you don't need to glue down, okay? And then what you're gonna do is we're going to glue this in between each of these at the scallop that's in the corner. Okay, so kind of like that. Leave a little bit of a border there and just press that into place. Simple. And then of course, you want to take a look at the final photo of our box and see how and where we used our little rhinestones. I don't want to get into that in the video because everyone is going to have a different opinion or a different feel or taste of how they want to decorate theirs. So I'll leave that up to you. That's where you can add your personal touch, I guess you can say. Okay. So I got one more here. Just make sure that it's centered. It's a very symmetrical piece. And fun, actually. I think this is a fun little piece. And it's pretty dang cute too. Really pretty. All right, there we go. Okay, so again, we're gonna put some rhinestones on there. Nice little pearl in the center. Probably some pearls on the side as well, but that looks really cool. Look at that, that came out very nice. All right, so that just leaves our base. It should be pretty straightforward because we're already pros at doing this because we already made the lid. So just like we did last time, I'm gonna go ahead and fold all these pieces. We're gonna join them, and we're gonna put the lid on and call it a day. Well, the base, I guess, since this is the base, not the lid. But it's exactly the same process. So anyway, so yeah, actually, if you're watching this on YouTube, what is your, you know how all the celebrities, anyway, before I get into that, we're gonna join these together just like we did the lid. And I'm gonna start by putting glue on the large tab there. Okay, just like this. And remember, get that glue out to the edge so that everything looks nice and clean. Okay, and use your table whenever possible for alignment and for pressure, just like that. You can fold it over onto itself So yeah, those tabs line up nicely. It's a good indicator that you've got it aligned as perfectly as humanly possible. As perfect as humanly possible. Okay, moving on to the next one here. And we're just going to repeat this process until we have it all together. But I was going to ask, for those of you watching on YouTube, what Christmas stuff do you listen to when you craft? Or what do you watch? You really shouldn't be watching anything if you're crafting. You can have it on in the background, just for, you know, background ambiance or whatnot. But I don't recommend watching anything while you craft. But me personally, I'm a big fan of the Charlie Brown Christmas, which is Vince Guaraldi, one of my favorite artists. And yesterday, I was listening to Windham Hill. I don't know if you guys are into Windham Hill. They're a group of artists. Who's calling me? I'm sorry. It's a group of artists. I don't think Windham Hill's around anymore, but it was kind of it was almost like, you know, those greatest hits CDs sort of, and it was just a company that I think created a record label for a lot of new age and acoustic artists, and there's a lot of great ones on the Windham Hill. So I put that on. I have a playlist for that, and Carol of the Bells came on, which sometimes we play this game. My girlfriend and I play this game when we're on long road trips, where so that we don't hog the music, because we both love music a lot. What we do is we play a game where you play a song. So somebody starts, she usually starts. You play a song, and then you get to pick the other person gets to pick the next song, but based on, it has to kind of feed off of the previous song, whether it be a lyric or a theme or whatever. And it can really get kind of crazy, but you have to explain how you chose the next song. And if the explanation is not good enough, you lose your turn. All right, so anyway, I just closed it up by putting glue on that last tab and grabbing the other end. Okay, so now it's all one solid piece, just like we did with the lid. Anyway, the reason I mentioned that was because when I hear Carol of the Bells, I immediately go to John Williams and listen to the Home Alone soundtrack. I will be on record admitting that I listened to the whole album probably 3 times yesterday while I was putting the finishing touches on the Gingerbread house. Okay, so let's get the bottom on this thing. You'll notice that there's 2 pieces that look the same. One has a little L cut into it, perforated L. That's your liner. That's going to go on the inside to kind of clean it up a little bit. This is going to be the actual bottom. Okay, and just like we did with the lid, we're going to anchor it first. So get some glue on just one of the tabs. Paint that glue out to the edge, just like so. Find the piece that does not have the L and line that up as accurately as possible. There we go. And there we go. Okay, and then same thing as we did with the lid. We're going to put our glue on the remaining sections and get those glued down. Now, I almost think that it might just be wiser to paint the glue. Maybe just kind of, I'm going to try something. Now, technically, I'm giving you 2 options here. You can put your glue on all these tabs just like we did with the lid and close it up and kind of nudge it around and hope that everything sets. But I'm going to try a different method here where I just anchor the opposite side and then I just do the painting anyway. And I think we'll end up with the same end result, but maybe even save a little bit of time because we know that we're probably going to have to paint it anyway. Okay, so again, you could put glue on all the sides and try to close it all up at the same time. I'm just going to skip that, and I'm going to anchor this side and just make sure that that is nice and aligned, and then I will go around and just paint the other sections manually. And actually, you know what? I think I might have just figured out, just from playing around, might have figured out a better way of doing this, because I think that, yeah, we still have access to these tabs. So if anything, to make this more perfect, we can kind of flip this up and kind of skip one. So we've got glue here, glue here. We're going to skip one and put glue on the next one. So we have 4 sections all complete. And I think this is going to actually be more accurate. Look at that. Yep. And then we can just paint in these 2 sections here where it's not holding yet. And that's going to look a lot better, actually. How about that? I literally, just live on camera here, just figured out a better method for making a box that has this many sides. Okay, so putting glue on, skipping one, putting glue on the next one here, painting that glue out to the very edges, just like that, and then just kind of give that a nudge and get it lined up. Make sure it's nice and centered. Hold that down for just a moment right at that seam. And then we can flip her over and press down from the inside. Okay, and actually, you know what we could even do? We could technically flip this over now, and you can see from the inside that we have access to that tab from the inside there. You can see that tab there. I could technically throw some glue on there, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to paint it. I think that's a better option. So just take your scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue right at the very edge of that, and just tuck it inside between the 2 layers there, and just paint some glue right onto that surface, just like that. Oops. Remove the excess and just push that down. It's already lined up for you because we did these areas here. Wowza! Well, that's exciting. Sometimes if you don't take a risk, you never figure out anything new. Okay, so grab that same piece of scrap, throw a little bit of glue on there, and it's already kind of parted. I'll show you here. You can see how there's a little bit of a gap there. And just pop it right in between, push up, just paint that glue right onto the underside. If you got a little resistance, just push a little harder, it's fine. And just press that down. Literally is perfectly lined up. This may be the best box I have ever made. There we go, look at that. Okay, and then there's one here still, and then there's one here still. I'm just going to repeat that same process. Throw a little bit of glue onto my scrap. And you can see the little gap there that's naturally there. I'm just going to pop that right in. I'm trying to demonstrate this on camera, and pushing up against the top surface from the inside, obviously. And then just press that down and hold. Give that a few seconds, and then you can flip it over and push down from the inside. And we got a perfectly constructed box here. All right, well, hey, you learn something new every day, even when it's on the fly. All right, so last little section here. Just take your, there's nothing on the bottom of this scrap piece, so you don't have to worry about getting glue anywhere except for where you want it. And just paint that right along the very edge. There we go. Remove any excess and just press that right down and hold that in place. And look at that. That looks good. All right, so now we'll take the inside here, and I'm just gonna run some glue around the perimeter. Don't get too close to the edge. You don't want that glue squirting out. And maybe just a little bit in the center. Take your piece with the little L on it, your liner, pop that in. It's gonna be nice and tight. Run your finger along the very edge, and your container is ready to go for your lid. box is done. Okay, so that's it. Very simple project. I learned something new today. I hope you take that little technique and use it to make your boxes even nicer. Check your work, and if you still have some little areas that you're not completely happy with, just go ahead and, you know, finish them off and clean them up a little bit. But I had a great time with this one. Very simple. Someone's going to love this. Not sure who yet, but if you enjoyed crafting with me, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. We are now at 24,000 on YouTube, so thank you to everyone that has subscribed. And if you haven't, head on over and hit that subscribe button. And if you make this or anything from our new Gingerbread bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our 16,000 plus fans in our group. So head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, join us, and thank you for crafting with me, and I look forward to doing it again.